Hey guys, and today I'm gonna talking about ShapeMaster Pro version and focus on pretty unobvious thing about it, and not even unobvious but just interesting to investigate together with you. So the first one is a trigger function that's called CV playhead. So actually this is a phase input for the chosen envelope. This simple case which I'm gonna show you right now is take DZC clock connected to the main clocked and take the phase output, and you will see it just replicate the current position of the phase and converting it to the triangle waveform. What interesting thing about phase, it can be divided or multiplied. These expanders work with sync, so you don't need to reset it each time you change the division. And also you can just use BPM LFO to get kinda things like that, but you should always reset BPM LFO to get everything in the sync. Just keep it in mind. Also, phase waveform can be processed. For example, let's take this function generator from ZC. Let's apply the phase again. So now we convert the upward saw wave into sine wave. We can convert it to square wave. So you can actually get a gate but in time continuum, and also it has a phase shifter, as you can see, and you can apply modulate source for it and get pretty weird stuff which can do sounds like this. Pretty dubsteppy. Let's apply guide, kick, drum. Just keep noticing what we get in case of 4 to the floor rhythm. Pretty groovy already, because it's in sync, but in the case we're getting triplets. Also, you can do some wave shaping with the phase, and there's a beautiful module to use is a shaper from Squinky Labs, and you can see you get already shaped waveform or just clipping or interesting things you can get with wave folder. So yeah, with wave folder you can get such a strange results like this, but it's pretty kind of experimental stuff to do, just for your information. So let's move to the next point in our adventure of the ShapeMaster. It's a run to freeze in options for stopping the whole ShapeMaster. It's here run off setting and all channels freeze. So it would allow you to use this run output instead of resetting each time, just freezing in time and get some kind of stopping envelope. So let me show you. Let's connect some clocked output. Let's return back to automatic mode. As you can see, it's not resetting, it's just continue place and place. The whole point of stopping at this point is locking to overall quantization. So if you don't care about this much, I recommend to unlock it. So let's have a listen. Let's disable our kick drum, not necessary at this moment. Just remember, we're getting these effects on all channels, just for a whole one module. And the resulting envelope is looking like this. So it can be very useful if you're annoying of LFOs or getting some trapezoid complex stuff, just by simply advanced parameter and some gate inputs from the clocked. Okay, the variation of this method of freezing channels, but per channel. So let's return back on run offsetting. And you can see the Pro version comes with SMTV, and the things you see this is actually polyphonic inputs for every function present here. And we've got here clocked random gates. Let's activate it. And everything you want to need to apply a freeze per channel is just connect this polyphonic gate output to the freeze. And let's see what happens. Let's have a look on the scope. Let's reset everything at first to get an idea. As you can see, the envelopes just has a random stopping according to these jumping gate lights. And that's pretty cool. It can really add an obvious behavior into your patching, but not so randomly. Let's reset this again. Pretty mysterious sound, and it's pretty nice for kind of ambient stuff and something like this. And regarding this CMTV expander, we've got a huge ability of doing whatever we want. We can actually just replace the cable to the play. And now we just get a random play, but quantizing to the overall grid, or this clock, based on this clock input. Such a different effect right here. And of course we have more parameters here, and one of the interesting of them is shape previous or next. There are two ways of doing something connection, especially use flip-flop states. But the most interesting for me is using these poly chances. So, and end of cycle triggers merge into the one 8 voice merger will really help us in this. So as you can see, we should connect everything end of cycle into the 8 voice merger, and then apply the output to the poly chances right here. And each time we're getting the trigger from end of cycle output, in this case we've got 3 connected channels, and if you can see here we got 3 response from the polyphonic Bernoulli gate. So if we're gonna choose, especially with this option, which not allow to switching preset before the reaching out of the end of cycle output, and let's choose some preset here and here, some random, and something for me. This LED will be show what preset it will be switched to the next cycle. Already different one, and back again to the cinematic. So something like this with the shape. The same will works with preset, overall presets. And let's switch to the continuous parameters for this, and poly off from Vocaudio will be amazing way to connect, to actually use those channels. For example, I need to control the phase for whole 3 channels at the time. So let's take some inputs right here, and we actually all set. Just turn this polyphonic channels to 3. Just set the slew to prevent any shapeness. And we can go further and use something like this for, let's say, for the length. And a wonderful thing on polyoff, we can control the offset and the amount of applying CV parameter. In case of length, I think we need to disable this lock button to get instant access to the different length, and as you can hear, it immediately brings amazing results. Something like that. You can try any parameters. Oh, I forgot actually about another useful gates tools for the gates. It's random, reverse, invert. Let's try the random. And we get strangest random generator in the world ever. Let's try reverse. Works great actually. Or invert. Same thing. So yeah, huge abilities just with one expander. So let's disable this, all of this by now, because we're going to use something third party but no less powerful in my opinion. It's a stir melter Transient. So for example, we have this gate sequencer here, gets gate steps, and all we need to do is bind a single parameter or a shift B control. For example, I need to map at once and then apply a morphing transient between the phase, again shift B response, shift B and warp. Let's adjust optimal parameters and write it down. Let's just adjust it a bit for the next morphing step and adjust a bit here. For example, three points, and we can control all of them just by applying end of cycle output for this particular envelope, and you can see the morphing shift based on the length of the fade. I have a video on Transient on my channel. Its version has different additions, but the whole point is still existed in those videos. So let's deactivate CV. We don't gonna use in this example. So the morphing is just working nice and right, and you can even not hear in this particular patching what's going on. Let's choose another preset. Let's choose a volume to be more obvious at this point. And if we're gonna decrease length, the morphing will be faster, of course. And we're gonna apply ping pong. We're getting end of cycle each time at the start point and the end point. That's pretty fun. So the next thing I'm gonna show you is using ShapeMaster as a wave shaper, again with CV playhead. So let's pass our palette to the VCA, and let's take another palette just a random preset and pass it through the trigger and gate. No need to use a polyphonic here, and activate bipolar input. And let's take a listen. We need to choose some shape. Yeah, that was for the slew. Yeah, now you're hearing effects of the wave shaping. The more sharp envelope will hear more sharp sounds, more harsh sounds you will get. Let's try to inject something in the warp. I don't recommend to use this section for the whole wave shaping effect, and actually you can change the carrier or modulator envelope for this to get a different vibe of the result. Of course, you can change the carrier. So it's like a vocoder meet a wave shaper, and it's pretty interesting and new to me. Very wide spectrum of the incoming sounds. Pretty amazing. So another tip I'm gonna show you is envelope compression. As you can see here, let's just take a new whole random bunch of random parameters already. Let's take the channel 6. As you can see here is a random amount of outcoming envelope, or just attenuator applied inside the ShapeMaster itself. But what if we need to make some kind of compression in the envelope? This is very suitable for the volume, because sometimes we don't need to have a significant drop in volume, just down a bit, like a side chaining or so. So I found a way to do that. It's just adding offset after this outcoming envelope. Supply attenuator at maximum, and as you can see, we have just basic modular stuff here, but let's try on this oscillator on practice. As you can see, those changes are not so significant as it shows on the envelope here. But if we're gonna take the envelope here, you just get significantly drop in the volume, and sometimes it's not appropriate in this case. So just little trick on how to compress the outcoming envelope just with an offset. Another tip I found is we can getting something like a step sequencer from the ShapeMaster if you held down the shift button and just tap some gates according to the grid, and then pass it through the quantizer. There are many modules in VCV Rack that can convert CV to the triggers, but I really found the quantizer make the things even better, because it receives a whole lot time different points of incoming voltage, and this quantizer from Grande has a trick output. So in this case we can take some sound, right? And each time the envelope rise and fall, we can get trigger. But the whole point of using a ShapeMaster for this, we can already tap a velocity for each beat, something like that. Again, for reducing a significantly drop in the volume, we can compress it. Or even add a slew limiter. Let's just apply the faster one. And here's the interesting thing: if you're gonna add a slew limiter inside the envelope, the trigger will go crazy. And you can get even unobvious results with that. Actually, you're adding some kind of step sequencer distortion, I don't know. Same thing with the smooth. And those ShapeMaster features like a phase, response. Actually, response sometimes is working for step responses as a compression, so we don't need an inverter for that. Of course, we have a warping stuff in there. So that was a trick where it's a step sequencer with quantizer. And the last trick I'm gonna show you is using Carousel from Count Modular, and it will allow you to switch outgoing CV voltage just by trigger. So it's kind of advanced circle-based sequencer switch or something. So, and you can switch it gradually with up and down buttons. And for the experiment, we can bring some CV playhead. Don't know what we're gonna do now. This looks like interesting results, so you can really see the switching ability of Carousel and ShapeMaster just driving by itself. Pretty interesting indeed. So that was a trick with the Carousel. And also ShapeMaster is pretty cool companion to the quad algorithmic rhythm generator if you're gonna use it with the trigger gate options. Like here, let's initialize it. Let's delete Transient. So let's choose a trigger gate again. Take these. And with the clock sync, I believe we can get sometimes interesting results, but we need to disable this lock button. So now it's a pretty nice driving VCA with envelope, and we can pass some oscillator through it and get instantly percussive or not sounding source. More complex rhythms with the phase and response control and warp. It can be all pretty musical. So yeah, that was my unobvious things for the ShapeMaster Pro version. You can still use some of them for the free one. So thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time.